Today we are going to learn about the different types of classification of the mineral nutrients of plants. Well, they can be classified as said in the previous video based on their source from which the plant collects, or based on the amount they needed per weight of the plant, or the concentration of the plant or of the mineral needed in the plant. The concentration, what its concentration should be inside the plant, and thirdly, the biochemical or its function in the plant. Now, first, the source. Well, the nutrients can be from the air or water, and secondly, from the soil. So, from air and water, they absorb carbon dioxide and oxygen from the air, right? So, and water contains H2O. So, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, these are obtained directly from the air or water from non-mineral sources, that is non-mineral. So these are called non-mineral elements. So these are non-mineral elements, and those which are obtained, and all other are obtained from the soil. So these are known as mineral elements. These include nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, etc., and all other elements other than these three. And then there, if we consider based on the amount, the second type of classification, that is based on the amount or concentration that is needed, in which it is needed inside the plant, they can be divided into two. Firstly, macronutrients, which are needed in more amount, about 1000 milligram per kg of the plant. And secondly, micronutrients, which are needed about, more than or more than this, and which are needed in less than mg, or and this is actually the dry weight. Okay, this is the dry weight, and per dry weight kg of the plant. So what are these macronutrients? So these macronutrients are, but it's quite a heck to focus it. So there's a phosphorus. Sorry, these macronutrients are phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And remember one thing: nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen. These are also macronutrients. And so even macronutrient can be divided into two types of nutrients. Firstly, primary, and secondly, secondary. Now, what are primary? These are the nutrients which are absorbed first from the soil because they are needed in huge amount, and secondary, which are not that instantaneously absorbed, finished in the soil, because they are not that much needed. So what are the primary nutrients? Nitrogen is in huge amount, and secondly, nitrogen is also present in the proteins. For making proteins, it's very important. For making DNA, sulfur is important, and then comes potassium. These three are the primary nutrients, which usually lack from the soil because they are required by the plant in huge amount And the secondary elements are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And they are usually enough in their nutrients, so fertilization is not always needed. And they do not need to be fertilized that much, using these elements, but these elements need to be fertilized. So most of the fertilizers are nitrogen based, phosphorus based, and potassium based. And secondly, the different elements in which are micronutrients are boron, copper, iron, chlorine or chlorine, manganese, nickel, sodium, molybdenum, and zinc. Well, to get a one snapshot of all the essential elements, here the ones, the macronutrients which are most often found in soil. Among these are calcium, magnesium, nitrogen, and phosphorus. And and these actually, nitrogen can be both absorbed in cation form and anionic form. And so along with nitrogen, the anions are phosphorus and sulfur. In case of micronutrients, they are absorbed from soil. So these include copper, iron, manganese, nickel, zinc, boron, chlorine or chloride iron, and molybdenum. So this is a quick overview of the classification. So actually, mainly, well, I cannot focus. That's the problem. Well, so since these are photolithoautotrophs, so there are 7, and as well as there are mainly 17 essential elements. So this can be divided into mineral elements and non-mineral elements, which are obtained from the soil and not obtained from the soil, respectively. And the mineral elements can be divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. That is why in case of macro, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon are not included, since this is kind of classification of mineral elements. Macro elements can be further divided into primary and secondary. These finish up first and this finish up later. So what were the primary elements? These were nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And these are I don't remember. Yeah, we need to see again. Secondary elements are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And to do the biochemical or the functional classification, this can be divided into 4 types. First group, that is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur group. These form the organic compound that forms the main organic carbonic compounds of the plant. Second group, that includes phosphorus and boron. This phosphorus in ATP. So this is the energy storage and the structural maintains the structural integrity. I do not know the function of boron. And the third group is that of potassium, calcium, and magnesium, and chlorine and manganese. And these are actually needed as cofactors and regulators of osmotic pressure. And thirdly, iron, zinc, copper, nickel, and molybdenum is required as in redox reactions as carriers of electrons and etc. etc. So this is up to it. Bye for now.